Twink!
My name is Blake, and I haven't been a twink since COVID.
Twink, you must make a video about the ridiculous, if not sometimes really funny scandals of the Zelda community.
And why would I do that, Zelda?
Because you love making these types of videos. Also ad revenue.
Okay, fair point. But how would I get these scandals?
Considering when you Google I love Zelda community Reddit, the first result is interacting with the community low-key killed my love for the series. I think you'll be fine.
Okay, fair point. Let's do this. Honey, you got a big storm coming. So The Legend of Zelda is a game where if you don't know it, welcome to society. I hope the rock you lived under was super comfortable. But for a quick refresher, The Legend of Zelda is one of the most influential RPGs in literally human history. At its core, the game revolves around our hero, Twink, Link, as he saves the Diva Princess herself, Zelda, from the clutches of the various forms of the evil and, more often than not, devastatingly hot, Ganon. The original Zelda was made in 1986 by Nintendo's cover boy himself, Shigeru Miyamoto. And since then, Zelda has become a staple in Nintendo's library, having over a dozen titles made that may or may not be connected, but canon lore is connected, but has also been disproven multiple times, and if you make a YouTube video on it, you're guaranteed like 1 million views, but that is not this video. This video acts as a time capsule for all the drama, scandals, fan wars, funerals, yes, there's a funeral, stick around, and sociopathic tendencies of the Zelda fandom throughout the years. For anyone new here, hi, I'm Blake. A lot of y'all think my name is Jake. It's not. See, I got a prop this time. That means the video's good. A few weeks ago, I posted a similar video about Stardew Valley, and y'all were so supportive of it that it literally tipped me over to 500,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. So I figured let's whip out the printer, do the research, buy a hoodie that is now officially tax deductible, and dive right into some devastating, diabolical, delicious drama. I mean, if you know, you know. We had to start with this. So the year is 2023. Breath of the Wild has now been out for 6 years after smashing countless sales records and selling over 34 million copies for a console exclusive. For my pop girlies, this is like Taylor Swift becoming a billionaire purely from music sales instead of doing like, I don't know, gambling ads. Genuinely, why is this a thing now? Do you seriously need more money? But with every smash hit comes a few breakout stars. Friends had Jennifer Aniston, The Hunger Games had Jennifer Lawrence, various other movies had various other Jennifers, and Breath of the Wild had their very own Jennifer, and his name was Sidon. So when you go to Zora's Domain, one of the 4 major quest zones, you are immediately introduced to this 9'5", peck-maxing, gammed up, literal prince with a smile that would make Mussolini himself question his ways. So during this leg of the game, you spend a lot of time with Sidon, talking to him, solving problems with him, riding him in the water like it's SeaWorld before, you know, that happened. And because it's Zelda, you've already got an established fan base of creative, artsy people that love a narrative. So my STEM majors watching this video, please do the math for us. What happens when you take game plus popularity times anthropomorphized shark? That's right, you get... Beloved viewers, I know in my videos I use a lot of flashy, hyperbolic language, but I am being deadass. My ass has never been more dead when I say I do not think we were prepared for the Pandora's box that was about to be unleashed of side link content. Cutesy, romantic, Link in his Gerudo outfit. There's a lot of this one. And for a lot of players, it went beyond shipping Link with Sidon. They were shipping themselves with Sidon. And honestly, I could not even imagine being that parasocial about a game. Oh, that's right, I can. So a few years later, the game's sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, comes out, and everyone is elated, because guess what? Daddy's back! In one of the official trailers, his portion is literally the most replayed section of the video. People were over the moon to see Sidon again, so at their first given opportunity, they run to Zora's Domain to go see their boyfriend, and who the f*** is this diva?
Who the f*** are you?
Who the f*** are you?
I asked you first.
I asked you second.
Surprise, Sidon has a fiance. And you find this out in arguably the way imaginable. In front of a literal statue of you riding Sidon, this girl boss has the audacity to say, I am Prince Sidon's, oh, forgive me, I am your best friend's fiance.
I could take your mans if I want to. Won't feel lucky for you, I don't want to.
If there was ever a day that my place in heaven was tested, it was that f***ing day. Now, admittedly, it is an arranged marriage, but Sidon at one point in the game does say that he truly does love her, and the knife in my heart just goes a little deeper. And I was not alone in this. To say that fans were a little upset about this exposition would be like describing World War II as a rough week for humanity. It's one thing to be parasocial, it is an entirely different thing to be parasocial. seething, so those side-on simps got to work. Videos ranting about Yona being a homewrecker, memes calling her the real enemy, a literal Polygon article followed by a TikTok from them pretending to JFK her. And the worst part is I am no better. In one of my previous videos, I called Yona a homewrecker and sent her to my imaginary prison called Guantanamo Slay. She still lives there in my brain. Now, of course, when a fandom gets a little too untouched grass about things, it does find a way to self-correct. There are plenty of posts defending Yona and saying that people are being freaks and they need to calm down. Ugh, 2 Taylor references already in this video. I've got to pump the brakes. She's gonna copyright strike me. It's her favorite hobby. And I do feel like both sides as a whole were just having fun with it, but we are at an impasse. One side is saying she's in the way, the other side is saying that y'all need to back off. So how does this conflict resolve? Well, it's a fan war, it's not gonna, but I do believe that the best option is secret choice number 3. You see, in Tears of the Kingdom, Yona hands you your Zora armor after repairing it. And in canon Zelda lore, when a Zora princess, like Yona, intends to marry, they present their betrothed with Zora armor. Alexa, play 3 by Britney Spears. Yes, our love is not yet lost, fellow losers like me. Congratulations, beloved viewers. You are now all poly and in a relationship with 2 icons of Zora royalty. And will there be naysayers? Probably, but I can't hear them because I've got 2 baddies nibbling at my ears. Suck it. Just kidding. I'm taken. So now that our first scandal is done, what Blake Jennings war crime video is complete without a little minigame between the stories? So bringing back to the stage, say it with me, which afterlife are the offending participators getting? We've done a tier list, we've done a scale, so I figure why not whip out that y-axis, baby? So introducing the afterlife graph, or as I like to call it, the Graphterlife. So for our y-axis, we have a very basic heaven to hell. Easy enough to understand. We all have a little bit of Catholic guilt in us, and I'm not even Catholic. And for our x-axis, I decided to go with camp factor. Was the crime theatrical enough that I'm gonna think it's funny and be okay with it? With our highest level of camp, of course, being Trixie Mattel, specifically before Drag Race All-Stars. She's a legend now, but back then she had blue contacts, no money, and a dream. And something about that combination was so authentically hungry for success that you could easily make a musical out of it. She probably will. And then I kept rattling my brain over what is the opposite of camp. What lacks any self-awareness, has 0 charisma, and is literally dehydrated of comedic timing. And then it hit me. It was so obvious. Elon Musk. Easy target, I know, but when I ask you to think of somebody who is the cardinal antithesis of a drag queen, I dare you to think of anybody but Elon. So now we have our quadrants. Camp Heaven, you did nothing wrong. Camp Hell, evil, but funny, so I'll allow it. Elon Musk Hell, not funny, just evil. And Elon Musk Heaven. I will not be using this one, those 2 words do not go together. So starting off with Yona in Camp Hell, I'll admit it was bad, but damn if it wasn't funny. My divas, is holiday shopping making you so indecisive that you feel like this? Well then allow me to introduce you to the sponsor of this video, Holzkern. Holzkern is an Austrian watch and jewelry brand for men, women, and everyone in between. I see you, 8% of my audience. All of their products are made from natural materials to make sure that you have the most unique and high quality purchase. And all of their products are manufactured in small quantities to make sure that they're all created ethically and responsibly. Holzkern actually let me pick a few products to try out, so I ended up going with this necklace and my personal favorite, this stunning wooden watch. I love this thing. And how can I prove that? Oh, well, I guess I can't, except that I can because I've worn it for the past 2 videos. If my outfit has even a hint of brown, guess what is going on this wrist? I actually had a little bit left on the gift card after those 2 purchases, so guess what my mom Queen Donna is sporting? Necklace Queen. They also come with absolutely gorgeous packaging. All of my products came in a beautiful wooden box wrapped in a luscious green gift box. Easy for gift wrapping, and I still use these to hold my products when I'm not wearing them. And for my holiday shoppers, all orders made before December 19th are guaranteed to arrive by Christmas Day. The products also come with a 2-year guarantee and ship in 3 to 5 business days. And to quote them directly, if you're in the US, don't worry, we've already handled the customs fees for you. Clock that T, Holzkern, they so get it. Full transparency, I absolutely love promoting products that I know I'm going to be using long after I showcase them on this channel. I stand by my statement that I adore this watch. You will be seeing me wearing this long after this video. I'm probably gonna be sporting the necklace as more of a going out accessory, but hey, if you collab with me, you'll see it. So if Holzkern sounds like the right brand for you or a loved one this holiday season, please make sure to check the link in my description and use code Jennings to get 15% off your purchase for their Christmas campaign. Thank you again so much to Holzkern for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. So if anybody watching was a 90s kid, God, please let that be true. I cannot be unk yet. I do way too much skincare for that. You're probably aware of the sheer terror that parents and politicians alike felt for video games at the time. I alluded to this before in my Animal Crossing War Crimes video, but basically a lot of parents will always find a way to blame their shitty kids on anybody but themselves. They've just now switched from video games to, you know, underpaid teachers. But in 1994, this video game equivalent of the Satanic Panic led to the creation of the ever-beloved ESA rating system. For those not in the know, it's that little M in the corner of Grand Theft Auto that you ignore before buying it for your middle schooler who is about to learn what the going rate is for an LA prostitute. But sure, the gays are corrupting kids. Again, anything but themselves. But this pushback did lead to Nintendo of America enacting stricter policies. So even the most chronically clinched WASP mom would be okay with getting her kids a Nintendo game for Christmas. And these content policies can be found in the deliciously campy 1994 book, Parents' Guide to Video Games by Stephen Schwartz. No, not that one. In these policies, Nintendo of America promised that it would not publish games which reflect ethnic, religious, nationalistic, or sexual stereotypes of language. This includes symbols that are related to any type of racial, religious, nationalistic, or ethnic group, such as crosses, pentagrams, God, gods, Roman mythological gods are acceptable, Satan, hell, or Buddha. And they say there's only 2 genders. And this is all fine except for one teeny tiny, vaguely Catholic issue. The Legend of Zelda's geographic location of Hyrule was essentially a Christian nation up to this point. Link uses a book of magic that in the original Japanese is called the Bible, and the firepower gained from this book is strongly implied to be the Holy Spirit.
Oh, Jesus is a biscuit.
There is even official artwork of Link kneeling at the cross to pray and weep for Jesus. So Ocarina of Time comes out in 1998 and greatly expands upon Hyrule's religion, introducing us to the 3 TS goddesses that we know today. So these goddesses kind of put a band-aid on the issue, but did that stop this game from alluding to more real-life religion? Would it be a major part of this video if I said yes? Absolutely not. Now, for no reason at all, allow me to introduce you to the Fire Temple. This is the second temple that you visit in Ocarina of Time, introducing new enemies, new puzzles, and a new little ditty playing in the background. Now, the kids whose parents had $60 of 1998 money to spare, that's almost $120 in 2025 money, by the way. I know Switch games are expensive, but believe me, we've had it worse. These lucky, affluent little babies had the opportunity to purchase the limited edition golden cartridge of the game. And in that golden cartridge was either the 1.0 or 1.1 version of the game that had the original music for the Fire Temple. At the risk of referencing her again, for my pop girlies, this is the equivalent of the original Taylor Swift debut album where she still sings, "You're gay!" Okay, Blake, you've built up this chant long enough. What's the big deal? Diva, that's a Muslim chant. The game company that just promised to not have any real-life religious imagery in it just released an extremely popular game with a chant in it that roughly translates to, "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah." Inshallah, Link beats the Fire Temple. So how did this happen? Well, a popular theory is that the composer of the game, Koji Kondo, picked it at random from a CD he had called Voice Spectral Volume 1. And in his defense, the tracks on this CD have been used in so many games. Here's a quick list. So he heard the track on it called Track 76. 76! Is that how you kill the joke? Will the joke finally die if I keep doing it wrong? And he probably simply thought, this is rad, and put it in the game. Now, you may think, oh my God, the Christians threw a fit and they caved to Islamophobia. Girl, do you think 90s evangelical Christians were gonna even notice that? They were too busy falling for cults at this point. And others may think it was due to a massive outcry from the Muslim population, but babes, for the first time in this series, I am here to de-escalate the drama. They literally just removed it on their own accord for 2 main reasons. 1, it did go against their own policies that they created. And 2, under certain schools of thought, this chant could fall under the definition of haram because it is being played alongside other sources of noise. The cartridges with version 1.2 on it that had revised Fire Temple music were made on November 12th, 1998, literally 9 days before the official launch of the game. So basically, Nintendo tried to proactively change this in order to have as little people hearing this music as possible. They pulled the all-reliable YouTuber who's been around for 10 years and starts privating their older videos, see you in 5 years. But in the end, it unfortunately caused sort of a Streisand effect. In the act of trying to cover up this mistake, it brought more attention to that mistake, which makes complete sense. If Billy's version of the game sounds one way and Kevin sounds another, they're gonna ask why. Also, Kevin won't stop talking about the 5 pillars of Islam. I'd say more heaven than camp. Everybody makes mistakes. So fast forward to the year 2000, the Legend of Zelda franchise is riding high. Ocarina of Time came out 2 years ago and is already being heralded as one of the greatest games of all time, a title that it still holds to this day. Ignore that one. The direct sequel, Majora's Mask, has just come out this year, and a non-negligible amount of fans are Majora's meh about it, and frankly, I don't blame them. The entire game is built around a countdown timer, and if you know the average gamer at any point in human history, you would know why this is grounds for disaster. So Zelda fans were hungry for a proper sequel to Ocarina of Time. Now, at the same time, it is worth noting that we are rapidly approaching the peak of the console wars. And up until now, it had mostly been Nintendo versus the Sega Genesis. But in the new millennium, Sony had made her debut, and Diva, she was winning. The PS1 had sold over 100 million units, and it snatched developers that were previously Nintendo exclusives like Square Enix, and the PS2 was about to come in even hotter. And a very important thing to remember in 2000 is that the name of the game was He Who Is Most Edgy is Most Cool. This is how we ended up with cultural bombshells like Linkin Park, My Immortal, Shane Dawson. So Baby Girl Nintendo, with dark edgy hits such as Pikmin, Animal Crossing, and Luigi's Mansion, was starting to get the reputation that it was a kiddie console. Oh, that is so gonna be my drag name. For example, here is a 1998 cutting-edge, very nuanced opinion on Nintendo gamers. It's been a known fact that N64 owners are gay. Now you are all anticipating the arrival of the gayest N64 game of all, Zelda 64. You N64 drones are welcome to this gay game. Coming soon, another gay game. Ally. Now they did try to fight that reputation with this edgy ad. Meanwhile, in the corner of this ad, you can see that the oldest rating they have in their entire game library at this point is T for teen. And this all, of course, was compounded with the fact that Sony was starting to utilize voice acting, questionable as it may be.
It is cheaper to buy vegetables here.
And Nintendo was simply not taking advantage of voiced characters. Something we definitely are not still talking about in 2025. So during the 2000 Nintendo Space World, that's the old Nintendo Direct for anybody who doesn't remember 9/11, Nintendo released a tech demo to preview their new upcoming system, the GameCube, which included footage of a very Ocarina of Time looking adult Link engaging with Ganondorf in a sword fight. No, not that way. And the audience was pretty happy about it.
Oh my god.
So problem solved. There's a new Zelda game coming out in about a year, and it looks super dark and mature and—
The legend is back.
oh my god, they made Link look like a saturated middle schooler. So that footage was never intended to be a game. It was just to showcase the capabilities of the GameCube. Meanwhile, the next game was going to be Zelda the Wind Waker. I know nowadays we talk a lot about how mean people are online, but you don't know ball until you see early 2000s internet game forums. These people had no filter, and they were pissed. Why does Link look like a girl? Link looks like a 2-year-old freak. This sucks. Damn. The new Zelda looks great. For me to poop on. That's a disgrace to the world of fantasy. God, they just don't hate like they used to. This was not for engagement bait back in the day, okay? This was for sport. So the line was drawn. You were either excited about an upcoming Zelda game, or you were going to switch alliances, buy that PS2, and go on to have extremely productive conversations about women in a Call of Duty lobby. It got to the point where kids were being shunned at school for being GameCube owners. That's right, kids, screw braces or glasses or being in gymnastics for 8 years. You were about to be bullied because you owned a Nintendo console. In an interview, Miyamoto himself was asked about the decision of the graphics, to which he responded, "Just play the game without thinking too much about the visuals. It'll be a lot more fun." He's a better person than me. If I had gotten this kind of backlash after working so hard in a game, I would have told all of you to practice your balance beam routine on the edge of a building. In that same interview, he goes on to talk about how he was shocked at the perception of this game being seen as childish, and the interviewer has the gall to ask if the next Zelda game will go back to the old visual style, when this game hasn't even been released yet. Now, time has been very kind to The Wind Waker. People eventually really warmed up to this art style, to the point that it actually has a higher user score than Breath of the Wild on Metacritic. And Toon Link, as he would go on to be called, would be showcased in many future Zelda games. The Minish Cap, Phantom Hourglass, 4 Swords, no, not those swords. And this introduces us to a very common theme you're going to see in this video, which I like to call rage regret. People hate on something, it stands the test of time, people then go on to love said thing, and then go into a TikTok comment section and in an act of Machiavellian theater, comment, "I actually never hated it." So how did they turn this all around? Well, as basically an apology, Nintendo would go on to release The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, their darkest and most mature Zelda game to this day, and was deemed the true sequel to Ocarina of Time. They literally were planning on making a Wind Waker 2, but then said, "F it, we're gonna give the Zelda universe a nicotine addiction and an absent father, we're going in." And if I have not yet convinced you just how much people were yearning for an adult-looking Zelda game, let me put it this way. This meme, which I guarantee you have seen before as a reaction on social media, originally comes from a candid photo of 4 4 guys reacting to the announcement of Twilight Princess. I simply do not trust whimsy haters. Sorry about it. So with all this hype around Twilight Princess, I'm sure people were just excited to get the game and go home and play it and have a great time. And wait, what's that? So picking up where we left off, in 2004, arising from the ashes of butthurt turbo nerds and relatively lower sales comes the new Zelda game, Twilight Princess. And if you still are not convinced just how much people wanted this, here is footage of the debut of the announcement trailer at E3. The primal energy of this audience. If this had been an Ethel Cain concert, a third of them would have passed out. I mentioned this in the last section, but this game, relative to the other Zelda games, was dark. Compared to the Wind Waker, this was the cousin at the Thanksgiving dinner table that has a red bandana and a lot of undocumented income that you know to never ask about. The title of the game, Twilight Princess, was announced a year later too. Mixed reviews, but overall it stood strong. Twilight Princess, it just seems weird, like some tween girl movie title or something. But the wolf thing is awesome. What? Was that Stephanie Meyer? Twilight came out literally 5 months after this post. Another trailer was released in 2006 where, to the joyous cries of asthmatics everywhere, it was rated T for teen. To the post-Wind Waker Zelda fan, this was basically at the level of finding your dad's dirty magazines that he keeps hidden from your mom, but she knows. She just doesn't really like your dad enough to care. And the switch was immediate. If you were getting bullied before for liking Zelda, you were now getting bullied for not liking Zelda. There was a lot of bullying happening in 2006. You just had to be there. Twilight Princess was already being heralded as the greatest game of all time before it was even released. And I can personally attest, as somebody who was in 7th grade at the time, tensions were high. This is a small side tangent, but it is absolutely vital to understand the bloodbath that would occur. So something I've neglected to mention up until now is that Twilight Princess was going to be released in tandem with the Nintendo Wii. If you weren't there, think about how hard it was to get the PS5, now quadruple that, and put it in a pre-2008 economy where most middle-class families could afford it. That's how hard it was to get the Wii. My mom, Queen Donna forever may she reign, got me a Wii for Christmas only because she went to the local Toys R Us daily until a worker finally tipped her off of a shipment coming the next day. She then sat out front of that Toys R Us at 5 in the morning until a manager came by and said, "We don't have any Wiis, please go home." To which my mom responded, "Could you just at least check, please?" She knew before the management of that store that they had received 5 Nintendo Wiis that morning. She also convinced me that year that Santa had brought it. She is such a good person. If I had gone through all that trouble to get something for my kid, there is no way in f***ing hell Santa was gonna get credit for that. So I told you that story just to drive my point that people were bloodthirsty for any information regarding the Nintendo Wii or Zelda Twilight Princess. So November 17th, 2006 comes around. We are 2 days away from the release of Twilight Princess, and the early access reviews start rolling in. Famitsu, 38 out of 40. IGN, 9.5, even daring to start the review with Ocarina, your time is up. But a review from one company would rise above them all in sheer infamy. GameSpot. In the GameSpot review, the journalist talks about how the game is fantastic, but mentions that it has some issues with the Wii controls and the music choices and lack of voice acting felt dated. And that journalist's name? Jeff Gersman, a GameSpot employee since 1994. And Jeff, poor Jeff, gave The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess an 8.8 out of 10. Now, 8.8 is still a great score, and the game literally just came out the day that review was released, so surely people are gonna go home and check for themselves if it actually was right. Now, why were people so mad? They hadn't even played the game yet. Oh, Diva, that did not matter. What mattered is what the game represented. It was salvation for people who had been fighting for years defending Zelda, Nintendo, Miyamoto, and on top of all of this, gaming nerds were still considered mega outcasts at this point in time. They needed something, and this was that something. Any score for this that was lower than perfection was considered treason. This game was their queen, and God help anyone who dared to disrespect their queen. And if I still have not drilled into you just how toxic people were on internet forums back in the day, one of the responses to this review was, and I quote, "The reviewer the game." How sad. This is one of the more mild reviews, mind you. I'm telling you, people were not nicer on the internet back then, you just weren't on it as much. Oh, but they did not stop there. Why would you think they'd stop there? They demanded Jeff be fired from GameSpot, sent him threats of the terminal variety, even going so far as to mass vandalize his Wikipedia page. All of these edits you see on this page, most of which consisting of the most vile combination of words you would ever see in your life, took place in a matter of 5 minutes. Admittedly, there is one edit that I think is very funny, where they deleted his entire wiki entry and just put, "Hates good games." He was body shamed, called anti-Nintendo, accused of being paid off by Sony and Microsoft to review bomb the game with a 8.8. But Jeff's career would go on to survive 8.8 gate, although he did get fired the next year from being editor-in-chief under suspicious circumstances, which ironically might have to do with him giving a different game a low score after they paid to heavily advertise on the website. But in all honesty, this video is long enough. We do not have time for that. And the worst part is, as time went on, the general public would grow to agree that Twilight Princess leans more towards an 8.8 than a 10. Rage regret, recurring theme, told ya, I'm a writer, baby. You know what they always say, kids will be kids. And grown men will also be kids. But are we shocked? Listen, those comments were some of the most vile things I've ever read, but the theater of it all, it 8.8. So the year is 2022, and by this point in the video, we all know Breath of the Wild was a smash hit. And seeing as we live in the era of sequel hell, of course a bunch of people are expecting that there is going to be a follow-up for this game. And of course they were gonna deliver. If you have a hit on your hand, you're gonna make another one. This video is an example of that. Thanks for that, by the way. I really appreciate the support. So on September 12th, Nintendo holds their regularly scheduled announcement event, Nintendo Direct. And at the end of this Direct, they are going to announce the title of the long-awaited sequel, Tears of the Kingdom. And it is set up to be a massive success. The trailer itself is gorgeous. The fans are frothing at the mouth for any info on it. The Queen died. The Queen died. So here is the section of the story that I like to call... On September 8th, 2022, at 3:11 p.m., Queen Elizabeth II passes away at the age of 96. Afterlife Queen, leaving behind a legacy that will outlive all of us and a PR nightmare for Nintendo. Could you imagine having to announce the title of your game called Tears of the Kingdom after this? That'd be like if Miley announced her new album, Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets, at an adoption shelter. So it's never actually been officially stated if the title was the reason for this, but out of respect for the 10-day national mourning that occurred after the Queen's passing, Nintendo's UK branch pulled the Direct and it did not air until October 3rd, nearly a month after the rest of us got to see it. And girl, you and I both know the fandom clocked it. And I'm sure many people think that it's not that big of a deal and they could have just posted the Direct anyway, but to those people, I challenge you with this. The next time one of your relatives gets laid off and announces it to the family, check in with yourself and ask, would now be the exact perfect time to announce my new game, I Hate Unemployed People, Stop Being Lazy? One of the funniest stories to cross my path in a decade, and I am so serious. So we are flashing back to the summer of 2013. The online video game discussion forum GameFAQs is hosting its 9th annual site-wide popularity contest, where they will determine who is the most beloved character among all the game franchises that year. Think like the US Open, but wearing deodorant is grounds for immediate disqualification. Like, that's such low-hanging fruit, and normally I would agree, but once again, you have to understand what game forums were like pre-2016 before the Switch came out. Gaming discussion wasn't for everyone. You were handed a GameFAQs membership after you hit your 10th mile of Naruto running in your high school hallways. Nerd representation at this time was basically just Jordan Pruitt's On the Outside Looking In, which had a music video where Disney still said no uglies, no fatties. Apologies for the detailed mise-en-scène, but you have to understand the environment we're working with here. This was unfiltered uber nerd territory. Also, just a heads up for this story, I'm about to go into a level of detail previously unseen on this channel. One, because it's basically theater, and two, because I have reason to believe that no YouTube video has ever covered this story, and it will be a cold day in hell before I let this literal online civil war become lost media. So up until this point, the Zelda fandom had basically daddy-domed the entire GameFAQs community, which is really saying something because GameFAQs at this time was the it girl. GameFAQs for gamers was like Tumblr for Super Hulk fans, and if you understood what I just said, then it's time to start integrating those hip stretches into your daily routine, girl. You'll thank me later. Link won this popularity contest so many times that the competition's wiki has a legitimate article entitled Law, Link Always Wins, which at this point had only been broken a couple times. Once by Cloud because of Kingdom Hearts just coming out, and another by the L Block from Tetris because, and I quote, "It was funny, and it was a joke everyone was in on." Lesbians stay winning, what can I say? But a new bombshell would enter the villa to proclaim, "Come on, Mamaru, I'ma snatch the crown." Draven. So about a year before, Draven was introduced to League of Legends, a game that I both long and fear to cover. That's not a joke, by the way. If I ever cover this game and I stop making videos immediately afterwards, they got me, girl. And Draven almost immediately became a major meme in the community. I'm not exactly sure why, I didn't do any research on that part, but I like to believe it's because he looks like if you put all the members of Imagine Dragons in a blender. Brick Queen. League was also approaching its peak in popularity. The League of Legends subreddit at this point had 350,000 subscribers, and at any given moment, there were 12,000 people using it. It's also worth noting that GameFAQs at this point in time leaned more towards old school gamers, so people who didn't exactly see League as their cup of cyanide. So when Draven entered the contest for the first time and was about to lose the very first round, all it took was a single post on that super popular subreddit and these sweaty League players all band together. Oh, and band together they did. The GameFAQs admin actually later shared the origin sites of all the votes that were coming in, and 45% of traffic came from Reddit and League of Legends forums. So congratulations, Draven, he won the first round by a pretty solid margin. So Draven's next match had him going up against Mega Man X, and people assumed this was going to be a dog walking because Mega Man X always scored in the top 10. But in what can only be described as a Deus Ex Machina, at the time of that vote, League of Legends servers were down and they had nothing better to do. So after he won that round, it basically became a meme in the League community, and they were committed to this bid. And the ultimate test was about to be handed to Draven, as his next round would be against Commander Shepard from Mass Effect and the Golden Boy himself, Link. And it was at this point, Zelda fans saw Draven coming from the horizon and were like,
Who the are you?
Welcome to the League of Draven.
Now it's at this point I should mention how I got this story because it was never suggested to me by any of my viewers. Luckily enough, my streaming co-host Luis, go check those channels out if you're a real one, was on these forums and watched it happen in real time. So he knew exactly where to look, used the Wayback Machine, and got us some evidence. At one point, there were multiple threads being posted every minute on the contest forum page, which normally only had around 200 active users. So this is an insane turnout rate. They were posting like the rent depended on it. And even against God's chosen Twink, Draven was actually winning by 6,100 votes at his peak. But nobody puts Twink in a corner. Unless that Twink was asking for it by a large man, I suppose. But honestly, this fight had no room for Toxic H-Gap Yowie. Link was steadily making his comeback after a plethora of pleads from many a Zelda fan to get other communities to vote for him. They said, Pokemon, go to the polls. But in honestly Shakespearean levels of dramatic irony, as the scales were about to tip for our favorite they-them lesbian, GameFAQs crashed for 95 minutes. Downtime was affected from 12:16 p.m. to 1:51 p.m., a total of 95 minutes in which there was 1,680 votes cast. Of those 1,680 votes, 55.84% were for Link and 27.56% were for Draven. And in the end, Draven won by 765 votes. 7-6! I'm not kidding, I will not rest until that joke dies. Now this, of course, led to a lot of backlash from the Link lovers, saying stop the vote, hold a rematch, even going so far as baselessly claiming that GameFAQs crashed because of a DDoS attack from Draven fans. Quick computer science lesson for those of you that have loved ones that you see regularly. A DDoS attack is basically this. So naturally after this, Link fans were praying for the downfall of Draven at every turn of this event. But the goateed goat grabbed his little phallic swords and clawed his way to the grand final. Draven versus Snake versus Samus. Oh, but don't you worry your pretty little head, those Link fans were not done. They recruited to the point that it was basically the entirety of the GameFAQs community versus League fans, escalating to the point where everyone just decided that Snake should be the victor, even going as far as to recruit Jennifer Hale, the voice actor for Samus, to tweet in favor of voting for Snake when her own character was in the competition. Not done though, not done though, it gets better. Even the voice of Snake himself, David Hayter, threw his hat in the ring, tweeting, "Seriously, who in the hell is Draven? Sounds like a draggy crow." Which was then retweeted by Hideo Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear Solid. And do you want to know how I found that infamous deleted tweet? Luis, by sheer miracle, found it in a screenshot of a DM with David Hayter where the tweet is faded in the background. God, I miss when celebrities ran their own Twitter accounts. Like, where else am I gonna see Rita Ora claim she was hacked because not enough people retweeted her to have her drop a new song? So obviously things have gotten a little messy, but the peak pettiest moment, in my opinion, was when an admin from GameFAQs walked on over to the subreddit of League of Legends and asked the admin staff if they could ban any posts that were rallying for Draven to win the competition, which the GameFAQs admin then claimed was actually his wife doing this without him knowing because, quote, "My wife loves Solid Snake." Girl me when I lie. Again, see Rita Ora hacked tweet. And in the end, Draven won by a landslide, leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of Link fans everywhere and therefore most of GameFAQs. So how does this resolve? Well, time would prove that the Draven love was kind of just a trend. He flopped so hard in the next contest that he lost to Amaterasu from Okami. And Link would go on to win the final popularity contest that GameFAQs would ever host in 2018. They, them lesbians always get their lick back. As a theater kid, committing to the bit is something I will always respect. So you know how in the last section I facetiously called Link a they-them lesbian? Yeah, there's some people online that really don't like when you do that. Fair warning for any knuckle-dragging, Thanksgiving dinner-ruining losers that have somehow made it this far in a Blake Jennings video. This story is going to involve trans people, existing. I know that's very scary, but I promise you and I are gonna make it through together. So it's November of 2023, and Nintendo has decided to drop a little announcement. They are currently working on a live-action Zelda movie, something that I am tentatively excited about. And of course, this is received with raucous applause from the fandom. And what does a fandom do best? That's right, fan casting. People are immediately on the hunt to figure out who would be their ideal Link and Zelda, when suddenly, in early 2025, all eyes are on a particular red carpet photo of the actor Hunter Schafer. In it, she is wearing a stunning green dress and elf ears, and it made people think, this photo's popping a little Zelda-y, and it spreads like wildfire. I even mentioned it in my other Zelda video. But a small detail that I left out until now is that Hunter Schafer is a trans woman. Like, why does that even matter? First of all, based. But secondly, in the big ol' year of 2025, do I really need to spell it out? Naturally, there was an abundance of outspoken opponents to this. I'll go into detail more about that in a second, but for now, just picture this. On July 16th, 2025, Miyamoto himself announces the cast for the new Zelda movie. Playing Link would be Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, and playing Zelda would be Bo Bragason. And honestly, I think this is a great choice. If it wasn't gonna be Hunter, I'm glad that it went to two relatively unknown actors so we can really dive into the story and watch two careers potentially skyrocket. And from what I've seen, most Hunter Schafer fans agree with me. But of course, every time a bigot thinks they've won, they shamelessly monetize it for everything it's worth. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not naive, it's the internet. Of course, there were some people that were probably mad about it and others that were making some jokes about it. But of course, they had to take this small discourse and sensationalize it, claiming things like Zelda fans were outraged that Hunter didn't get cast, and hashtag NotMyZelda was going viral. And would you like to know how I know that that hashtag was sensationalized? Because I went on Twitter and scrolled through the hashtag myself and saw that there are more people making fun of it than using it sincerely. But like death and taxes, lazy, unedited YouTube slop is inevitable.
I don't know why these people are so hyper-focused on taking roles away from real biological women.
I'm sorry, did I miss the part in the game where Zelda thanks Link for saving her by whipping out her cisgender coochie? God, sometimes I wonder how easy the failed YouTuber to right-wing grift pipeline really is. Like, you could be a millionaire and not have to work anywhere near as hard for it. Like, there's people busting their ass 40 hours a week in a job that they hate just to barely pay rent. Meanwhile, do you think these pick-me's do anything other than sit down at their desk and say trans people bad for 12 minutes and press post? No. Because that's all it takes. It's like jingling keys for them. And don't worry, this was not only being covered by content factory channels that were churning out 2 videos a day. Oh, no. This was also being covered by much larger, much greasier channels. I'm gonna keep it classy and not name names, but whatever channels you thought of, yes, it's them. And a lot of these creators were claiming that casting Hunter as Zelda would cause an unwanted loss of sales. But putting aside the fact that these people believe that the majority of the Zelda fandom shares their opinion on trans people, did everyone just forget what acting is? Stanley Tucci, a straight man in real life, has kissed more men on film than I have in my entire real life. But am I mad about that? No, I'm mad about the fact that he hasn't kissed me. So maybe, just maybe, if we criticized art for the sake of art and not in an attempt to get more sales from people who need ChatGPT to tell them what a metaphor is, this wouldn't even be a debate. And the most infuriating part of this entire debate is that most people didn't even want Hunter Schafer as Zelda because she's trans. They wanted Hunter Schafer as Zelda because she looks like Zelda. So beloved viewer, unfortunately this does not have a clean-cut ending. Bigots will always find a way to throw out their empathy for a check. But if you remember one thing from this video, please let it be this. They are not the majority, they are not the future, and most importantly for this video, they are a bunch of drama-hungry titty babies that threw a tantrum over a fan cast that was never even under consideration by Nintendo. So hold on hope and please support this actress when the movie comes out. It's going to be such an exciting opportunity for her. And anybody that is supporting her for the wrong reasons, I simply ask you this. Do not Sydney Sweeney her. I cannot mentally handle another Jeans ad discourse. They'd never cast a trans person as Zelda. Cast yourself in the role of somebody who makes a quality video for once, nerd. So now that we have one story left, I figure what better time to honor the stories that didn't quite make the cut but are still of note. It's time for the lightning round. First, smoochin' time. In the Zelda CDI, there is an infamous scene, and I'm just gonna let it play for you.
Phew. Zelda!
Link!
Oh boy, smooching time!
I remember reading a comment that said this is the reason Link will never talk. Next, Link's vagina bones. Another famous moment that I can let the video do the talking for me.
Is there any reason on why Nintendo gave Link a vagina bones?
Fellas, is it gay to have a pelvis?
I don't know if they were a bigot so much as they were an idiot, and honestly, idiots are kind of funny. Next, TransLink. So TransLink is a European bus company, and apparently people decided to boycott it a few years ago, and the hashtag TransLink started making its rounds on Twitter, leaving a lot of Zelda fans very confused and even more so hopeful. One day Link will be they, them. One day, damn it. Next, the original Mirror Shield. Same issue as the Fire Temple. Apparently they didn't learn their lesson and accidentally left an Islamic crescent and star on the shield. Nintendo, I can only keep defending you for so long, girl. Next, Reggie says Link is hot. So Reggie used to be president of Nintendo America, and in a famous interview, he did say,
is Link hot to you?
Link is hot. I gotta say, Link is hot.
Right there. What? He's right. Next, Ganon Band. In the original Zelda, they literally misspelled Ganon, giving him 2 N's instead of 1. And in the community, it basically became a catch-all response if somebody messed up something about the game. They were basically saying, F you noob. Honestly, it could be worse. If we didn't have know-it-alls, then nerd culture would cease to exist. Next, Been Drowned. It's basically a creepypasta about a cursed used copy of Majora's Mask, but it got so popular that kids were legitimately terrified to buy used games for a while after that. Listen, if it stopped even one kid from selling their game to GameStop for 3 cents, then honestly, it was a net positive. Next, Suavemente. This meme originated from a YouTube channel called Terminal Montage, which if anybody from that team is watching this video, please know I'm available for any voice acting purposes that you may need. I did a single line in Team 4-star, okay? I'm qualified. But the hilarious crime of this is that at one point, people thought that there was a leak of Tears of the Kingdom, and when people downloaded it, they got a face full of
Suavemente bésame que quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez suavemente bésame que
incredible. The Lord's work. Hire me. Next, Special Delivery. So in Breath of the Wild, there's a quest called Special Delivery where you help this very young-looking little fish diva find her long-lost love, and you reunite her only to discover that this is her man. It's honestly too low to fit in the shot, sorry. And finally, That One Animator. That One Animator is a very talented animator on TikTok. And he posted this TikTok of a Zelda model he made. And does something seem a little off to you in that TikTok? Like the amount of comments in it? I wonder what those comments said. Yeah, they wanted him to make explicit content. They think he's gonna be like their Jesus if it happens. I mean, it's pretty rude of them, but it's also pretty funny. Apologies in advance because there is no way I'm making it out of this story looking like a good person. It's too funny. So in Breath of the Wild, there are these creatures in it called Koroks. They've existed in other Zelda games before, but this time, these little freaks had a very specific purpose. When you find them or you finish their various puzzles, they gift you with a Korok seed, which are these little golden droplets that can be turned into the character Hestu for inventory upgrades. Smash, okay, yes, smash, there you go. Are we happy? We all knew it. Now, if you want to stretch that weapon inventocy out to the max, I'm not particularly proud of that line, but I'm gonna keep it. You would need 441 Korok seeds to max out your inventory space. But Nintendo knows its fan base, which is, say it with me, OCD-ridden softies with a tendency to hyperfixate on escapist media, especially when said media takes place in a world that looks exactly like a Ghibli enthusiast's wet dream. So naturally, like moths to a flame, a lot of people want to 100% this game. And in order to do so, you, the player, get to take on the exciting opportunity of looking for 900 Korok seeds. For reference, here is a map of all the locations of the Korok seeds. No, you are not looking at a pointless painting. Those are all Korok seeds that you have to find, some of which have puzzles. So while going on this game's interpretation of the Odyssey, some people started to wonder, what exactly is a Korok seed? Well, after finally completing this voluntary masochist journey, these poor vagabonds had their answer. After turning in your 900th Korok seed to Daddy Hestu, he gives you Did you guess golden shit? Surely you guessed golden shit. And here is the best part. It's worthless. And now looking back, these poor victims have finally realized what Korok seeds are. They're turds. You were helping these little bastards out, and in response, they shit in their hand and gave it to you. So considering the amount of hours that this took to complete, you can imagine the sheer vitriol these people had for the entire Korok race. And the worst part is, Koroks in the game don't take damage. You couldn't even get revenge. The worst you could do is like drop a rock on them. That is until May 12th, 2023, the release of Tears of the Kingdom. In the sequel, there is a new character feature called the Ultra Hand. With the Ultra Hand, you could now grab objects, attach them together, and even attach special devices that would make them mobile. Fans, rockets, wings, carts, balloons, wheels, springs, etc. And joyous day, the Koroks are back with a sickening new twist. A lot of the Koroks now have missions to return them to their friend who's kind of nearby, but you have to cross like a lake or a cliff or something like that. And in order to fulfill this request, you, the player, have to take advantage of the fact that the Korok is now wearing a backpack that counts as a movable object. I sure wonder how that turned out. In what can only be described as the Industrial Revolution of gaming, these people found the most creative ways imaginable to basically make their own CIA detention and interrogation programs. Also colloquially known as torture sites. Ironically, while looking into this, I even came across a video called Tears of the War Crimes, showcasing, you guessed it, more Korok torture. But that, unfortunately, is not where the story ends. On May 14th, 2023, a new subreddit is created. The Korok Space Program. The Korok Space Program is a fan-made organization whose sole purpose is to find as many creative ways to launch Koroks as high into the stratosphere as possible. The game had not even been out for a week, mind you. There was an article written about this on May 16th, 4 days after the game came out. But time was clearly not a limiting factor. These people took the suffering of the Koroks and cranked it up to an 11. One of the highlights for me was seeing that somebody built a functional plane holding 40 Koroks that he airdropped from maximum height. I genuinely do not think it is hyperbolic of me to say that actual war criminals would be impressed. And I would dare say that there is a non-negligible amount of people that bought this game solely for the purpose of doing this. They said, girl, Ganon can wait. I have to recreate the space race. But how does this final story resolve? Honestly, probably with half of them going to MIT. I lived in Boston for 5 years, and let me tell you, that is a breeding ground for brilliant sociopaths. Listen, it wasn't great, but they had a point. And just like that, we have finished another War Crimes video. It is 2 in the morning, and I've been standing for 7.5 hours. Thank you so much for watching this. My name is Blake. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss when I post a new video. And if you have it in your heart, please support this video as much as possible. I adore making these, and I already have a list of all the different ones I want to try to cover. And thank you again to Holzkern for sponsoring this video. Love this watch. And another huge shout out to Luis. Any of these stories that seemed uncharacteristically well researched, yeah, that was him. If you like watching streaming, please make sure to follow me on Twitch and YouTube Live. I try to stream at least once a week. And I also have a podcast. If you have somehow decided that you have not yet had enough of my yappy, whiny voice, we have a new episode every Monday. But of course, we cannot finish this video without deciding what have we learned from this. I think the moral of the story is that wearing a belt around your stomach will give you reflux for the entirety of a filming process. Never, ever do it again, Blake.